As someone who's been obsessed with personal and spiritual development for over a decade, I've experienced and seen others go through acceleration periods of awakening. These awakenings I speak of in this context are, quote, aha moments, realizations of autonomy, true freedom, and liberation from, quote, low vibe, harmful energy grids, and even ego death. Your false self falls away and you remember your true self. These periods of awakening tend to come after extended periods of nothingness or, quote, cocooning in our personal life. Some may label it plateauing, but this just means your energy field is absorbing and processing information or, quote, codes. Codes are information we download from source, our higher self, and other people who have already downloaded and processed these codes. It's when these, let's call them consciousness codes, have been fully processed through our energy field that we get that aha, understanding, awakening. Some consciousness codes download and process instantly, while others can take a minute, all the way through to years. To be clear, when I speak of, quote, cocooning or, quote, nothingness, I mean we don't appear to be moving forward or accomplishing much. It can feel like a lack of motivation to do anything. The energy and want just isn't there. This is different from full-on depression in that a person isn't experiencing deep sadness, apathy, grief, despair, emotional numbness, a need to isolate or self-harm, etc. When you're, quote, cocooning, you may or may not be active in the world. Hermit mode is common when, quote, cocooning. And you're still able to experience joy and other, quote, high vibe states. But you may feel stagnant or stuck. Also, quote, cocooning is part of rebirth and transformation when it comes to butterfly energy and symbolism. These, quote, cocooning periods can vary, and for me this go-around was a few months. Thankfully, this isn't my first go-around, so I knew what was happening and to surrender to it. Which is why I haven't written a new blog post or posted a new video in such a long time. To be clear, surrender in this context isn't giving up on attaining goals or whatnot. It's about not resisting or trying to force a desired outcome. For example, I could have tried to force myself to write a blog post or make a video, but it would have felt like squeezing toothpaste through a pinhole, and the outcome would have been some pretty crappy blog posts and videos. Surrender in this context is about going with the flow. So let's call this step number 1. Surrender to the cocoon. Allow yourself the time to download and process consciousness codes. Remember, some consciousness codes process within seconds, while others will take days, weeks, months, or even years. This is why you may hear the same information or guidance over and over, and then suddenly, quote, get it, after the 10th time hearing it. The following tips can help with faster processing time. To be clear, I'm not suggesting you do nothing at all until the download has been fully processed. This tip is about acceptance, not resisting or forcing. Such is the central idea of karma yoga. The karma yogi is the man who understands that the highest ideal is non-resistance, and who also knows that this non-resistance is the highest manifestation of power in actual possession, and also what is called the resisting of evil is but a step on the way towards the manifestation of this higher power, namely non-resistance. Step 2 from my journey, chanting / sound healing and pranayama. Specifically in my Kundalini yoga practice, I chant the seed mantras for 6 of the 7 chakras: Lum, Vam, Ram, Yum, Hum, Om, to activate these energy centers, which helps with processing consciousness codes. Using a singing bowl while practicing pranayama, breath control, activated my crown chakra, which helped me download and process consciousness codes. Strike the wooden mallet against the bowl, inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, hold the breath for 7 seconds, strike the bowl again, and exhale through your nose for 8 seconds. Repeat for 3 to 7 more rounds. This is known as the 4-7-8 breathing technique. You don't need a singing bowl to practice this pranayama, but I personally find its sound healing to be a beneficial addition. Step 3. Truth testing and tracking. I learned about truth testing and tracking from a YouTube series by Caitlyn Diana. Y'all, this shiz was a game changer for me. Talk about learning how to take your power back and gain confidence and liberation. Woo! This is actually a huge topic/teaching, so for now I'm going to keep it simple. For sure, check out Caitlyn's videos. They're very 101, but it gives you a general idea of how to do it. And/or you can sign up for her HRA membership. For the purpose of this video, when you test/track, you're receiving answers from your soul/higher self. You might, quote, hear the answer in your mind, or feel it in your gut, or experience it as body cues or a movement in your body. So the truth testing question that has been the most game-changing for me is, hey truth, is this even mine? The, quote, this refers to a belief or set of beliefs, or can refer to a feeling or emotion. The way I've learned works best for me is to sit comfortably, close your eyes, place your hands over your heart, take a slow, deep breath, let your mind go silent or still, then ask the question, then listen/feel. I was shocked at the amount of times the answer was no. Whichever answer you receive, track it. Tracking means asking follow-up questions. A couple examples are, do I need to hold on to this? Is this serving me? And so on. If the answer is that the belief/feeling/emotion is not yours and you're guided to let it go, I love to use Caitlyn's return to sender technique, where you simply say, I return this belief, feeling, emotion back to its sender with consciousness attached, or simply return to sender. I usually find I'll intuitively swing my arms to one side and snap my fingers as a physical way of sending the energy back to its sender and releasing it. Step 4. Clearing statements. A clearing statement is an energetically programmed sentence used to clear beliefs and thought patterns that are outdated and holding us back. Clearing statements work to clear beliefs from your energy field while simultaneously reprogramming these beliefs in your brain. On the energy side of things, we store all our beliefs from this life as well as past lives in our subtle energy field. The good and the bad, positive and negative, helpful and harmful, and they can keep us stuck in loops. On the neuroscience side, our brain has neuroplasticity, meaning it can be molded and modified. It can form new connections and pathways. One of the ways we do this is through repetition. The more we think a thought, the deeper the neural groove becomes in our brain. And the deeper the groove/thought, the faster the brain can fire it to create the intended response in our body. Now, if the belief isn't super deep yet, Using a clearing statement once might be enough, but for the deep down ones, you'll most likely need to repeat the clearing statement a few times to form new connections and pathways in your brain. And for the really stubborn ones, you may need to find its point of origin. This is the first time you heard or experienced what forms the belief. You may need to go back via meditation, or you can use a pendulum and dowsing board, or tarot cards to find out if it was from this life or a past one, or if it's ancestral, and so on. So the clearing statement that I use is a hybrid of Caitlyn Diana's and Christy Marie Sheldon's. Anywhere and everywhere I've decided, bought, and sold the idea that blank, I destroy and uncreate across all time, space, dimensions, and realities. Step 5. Ancestral healing, specifically the Motherline. Ancestral healing is something we do when we notice harmful or toxic patterns and cycles we are repeating in one or both of our family lines. Most often, these patterns and cycles are brought through the mother line, but this isn't a hard rule. The reason we pick up these patterns and cycles mostly through the mother line is DNA, and because we physically enter the world through our mother. With the father line, it's mainly cords and contracts that we have that continue those patterns and cycles. Also, like tends to attract like, so you may find similarities in your mother and father lines. For me, I was raised by a single mother, so I focused my attention on healing that line, and in particular, the pattern of perfectionism. Perfectionism, quote, not enough, and imposter syndrome has plagued me for as long as I can remember, and it wasn't even mine. It came through my mother line, and I know this by being aware of this toxic pattern from my mom, her siblings, and my grandma. I was only able to track it as far as my grandma because her parents died when she was very young, and I don't know any of her siblings or much about her story as she wasn't very open about her life. She was a very reserved woman. Not being able to track it back any further wasn't a problem, though. You don't need to know how far back it goes. Knowing that this was a pattern imposed on my mom to me from my grandma was enough for me to be able to simply call on my ancestors from that line, going all the way back to the beginning of it to heal, /clear, /collapse, /forgive the toxic pattern of perfectionism. This was incredibly liberating for me. And it worked so powerfully that while making this video, I legit forgot the term imposter syndrome. That's how you know it worked. So that's all I have for you for today. But before I go, I want to let you know that I'm putting together an event around these steps called Accelerated Awakening, where we'll go deeper and do the work together. If you're interested in attending these live Zoom classes, let me know in the comments, or you can email me direct at spirituallycharged@gmail.com. With that said, I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you in the next one.